they say all good things must come to an end. Welcome to the final episode of the 2021-2022 season of the Why Do Boys Make podcast. My name is still Corby, and we are recording on January 6th, 2022. I say we because, as always, I am not alone. Today, I am joined by the new reigning defending champion of the Why Do Boys Play Games Fantasy Football League, Fitzy. Fitzy, welcome back. How you doing?
Corby, all it took was me making a podcast and paying a lot of attention to win a fantasy league. Very happy to be here. I'll tell you, I love that you're bringing that energy. Love that, wrestling style intro for me again. It's a new year. It's a new me. My first podcast, not caffeinated. So we'll see if we can get to the end.
Well, let's keep going. Before we get into the main meat of this podcast, I thought we'd get into some nonsense first. Fitzy, you did such an incredible job making these awesome power rankings for our guests all season. I thought I wanted you to do one as well. So if you'll see on your screen, I've compiled a list of 10 games that you have every achievement in for Xbox 360. Please rank them from 10 to 1. From an overall experience standpoint, I've taken out low-hanging fruit like Assassin's Creed and Halo because I'd love to see you try to remember your experiences with some of these games that I haven't thought about in 10 plus years.
Yeah, and Corby, I read this and I read your note saying I'd love to see how you remember your experience with these. So I purposefully didn't look anything up. Purposefully. I had the time, I thought about it, and I said, no, I got to give my true reaction to this. So I have every achievement in Dash of Destruction. What is that game? That's number 10.
I think that it was a Doritos game where you were like an Xbox Live free thing.
Yeah,
you're like a T-Rex versus a car or something. I don't know.
And barely squeaking past that at number 9 is I have a vague memory of this title. Can you tell me a little bit about Harm's Way, Corby?
I also didn't do a ton of research on these games either, but I think Harm's Way was a kind of like multiplayer racing game where 1 versus 1 or like many versus many, but like if you weren't driving, you could like play as turrets like in a desert and like try to shoot your enemy or something. I don't know. It's fucking bad.
Well, let me tell you, we're starting to get out of the bad because number 8 is a game that, again, I don't know if I know that this game exists, but at least the IP I'm aware of. So Lost Via Domus. Was it representative of the first season? All of the seasons? I couldn't tell you. It's lost from my memory, but I got the gamer score to prove I was there. And now I'll tell you, we're into the good stuff because I do remember at least one very fun thing about all of these games. That said, it pains me. It like the fact that we're getting into the good stuff and we're at number 7 right now. Number 7, Hannah the movie, the game. And I'm just completing this because you just have written here Hannah the movie. It is Hannah Montana the movie, the game. One of my favorite video game titles of all time. It felt like it was made by somebody who wanted to make a parody of video games.
Yes.
I distinctly remember the horse racing. Why do I remember this? Because you had to do so well at it to get the gamer score. And I don't remember if I had to do it twice or 3 times or 4, but I know I had to do it more than one time. And I know I did not like the horse game by the end.
God, so bad.
Oh God. So that's almost the last. I'm going to say that's the last of the bad memories. This next one, I'm really between these next 2, but I've got to give it up. Number 6 is going to be Terminator Salvation because it's one of those 1,000 gamer score games that I beat twice.
Oh no.
This is my fond memory of this game is I was grinding gamer score for 2 people. There was a co-op version of this that you could get all the gamer score for. I had one controller and I was trying to play co-op. Corby, do you remember anything about this game?
I remember there was like a weird, I don't know if it was like a third-person shooter or like an on-rail shooter or something like that. I don't know.
Yep. Okay.
It was really hard, I think, is what I remember.
It was the game as a whole, not really hard. Mike Bekonowitz, shout out. I know you're listening. I know you remember the train mission. Oh my God. It's like second place in my brain to Sergeant Randall, The Guns Aren't Here from COD 2 on veteran mode. Like, I will never get that scene out of my head. So that's number 6 because it's got some bad memories in it. And number 5 is kind of my next, we're grinding gamer score out. No other reason to play Superman Returns. There was an achievement in this game, I believe, for flying something like 26 miles. Like you had to fly a marathon. Maybe it was 50, maybe it was 100. What I do remember is getting a rubber band, tying that to my controller so that, because if you leave your controller alone, it'll go to sleep.
Yeah.
But overnight, you can leave your Xbox on while Superman is flying to the left all night long. You can turn the TV off and save electricity, save the planet, and get your gamer score.
So good.
So that's number 5. And now we're getting into the part where I could be ruffling some feathers because this is the top of the top. And I'm going to put at number 4. Maybe you're surprised to see it this low. It's a Kingdom for Keflings. This was, in my head, I only think of Billy when I think of this game. I don't think of me having fun. I think of Billy talking about Kingdom for Keflings. Truth be told, like it's your standard collect resources, build stuff game. Nowadays, this would be like a somewhat average mobile game, but at the time it was fun that you could do this with friends. I think it was Corby. Do you remember, was number 2 the co-op one, or did you have that in number 1 as well?
I think it was in number 2. I never played them, like either of them.
Really?
The only recollection I have of these games is that you guys would play them for like 8 hours for one day and then never play it again.
Yep. Once you achieve, you have no reason to go back. Definitely. Yeah. Corby, when you made this list, you probably knew what the top 2 were going to be, and I'm not going to disappoint you because number 3 is Fight Night Round 3. This is higher on the list than some people. You might have expected this to be like number 8.
I expected it lower.
I have fond memories of this game. Corby, do you remember what your fighter's nickname was in this game?
I don't. All I remember was my strategy for getting 1,000 gamer score.
What was your strategy? You start with the strategy.
So my strategy was to turn off disqualifications and either elbow or headbutt. Elbow and headbutt. And that's how you just go through the whole campaign and get 1,000 gamer score. That's all I did.
No, I did the same. But my guy was named the Body Snatcher.
Oh my God, the Body Snatcher. I love that.
Every win. That line of dialogue alone is worth number 3 on this list. Every win, every introduction, the Body Snatcher.
Dude, so good.
Oh man. I think, what was the driving instructor's name in Westfield that adjust your seat.
Oh my God, I can't fucking remember his name for the life of me.
I can't remember his name either. Put it in the comments down below. But I distinctly remember that was the name of my guy.
It was it was like right around that time where we were in driving school.
Right.
I remember being in your basement grinding these achievements out in Fight Night and Superman at the same time. I remember this distinctly.
Oh man. So yeah, we were probably like between nights going to driver's school.
That
driver's
must have been it. It had to have been it.
What I really, it's gonna pain me if I can't remember this name. So really put it in the comments. I remember that my guy's name was exactly his name, but the Body Snatcher will live on. And now we're really getting into easy top 2 territory. I feel like this was bait to see which one I would put at number 1. And even right now I'm waffling, but I gotta put number 2, Marble Blast Ultra, with the caveat that this might be my favorite single player game ever. Like
wow.
I don't know if that's exactly my favorite gameplay for sure. It transports me to a different place, a place where I'm competent at video games. And I really enjoy being in that space. Almost putting it at number 1, Corby, is I remember distinctly the first night we downloaded this. And you said to me, I know you remember the quote, "Who thought I could get so mad at a game about a fucking marble?" So embracing that anger and honing that skill is really what I enjoyed. You know, they came out with the original creators made a game on Steam, Marble It Up.
Marble It Up? Yeah, I never played it.
Highly recommend for any Marble Blast Ultra fans out there.
Gotta check it out.
Basically, Eric, if you're listening, check it out. And number 1, for all the hours, for all the iron bladder, it's Rock Band 2. It really couldn't have been anything else at number 1. I was always maybe the 2nd, 3rd, potentially 4th best Rock Band player in the room, but it's just so much fun. I'll upstrum on a bass all day long, as long as I'm singing with my friends and getting the harmonies wrong. So Rock Band 2 takes the top spot on my list.
Greatest 1,000 gamer score achievement experience for Fitzy.
The Iron Bladder, how can you say anything else, right?
No.
Everyone remembers where they were when they did that, or when they helped a friend get that.
Yeah.
Shout out Cody. When I first got the Iron Bladder achievement, I'll quick little story here. We got to the end of Visions. You remember that? How hard that song was?
Of course.
I'm playing on expert, but I'm playing bass because I wanted to complete it, but I didn't want to get too bored. I failed at the end of that song, and Cody did not have star power. And you're watching the meter tick down slowly as we've completed 67 out of 68 songs or whatever it was.
Oh my God.
And it's like, it's ticking down and there's no more sound and it's still going down, down, down. And then before it finishes, you hear the, yeah, you rock. Like, did I almost just waste 4 hours of my life? We saved it. So
at least you didn't.
Nerve wracking. Corby, that was a lot of fun, but I couldn't let you get out of here without asking for you to give me some power rankings too. I had a great nostalgia trip with that list that you put together, and now I'm going to send you right down memory lane too. A little bit less nostalgic, a little bit more recent. I'd like you to rank your favorite memories on this podcast so far this year. These could be as small as a moment, or it could be as large as a storyline that spanned multiple episodes.
So based on the 10 that I have here, I'm going to start at number 10 with a memory that I don't have. Because to me, this isn't a podcast moment. It's apparently when I said, I am so in big trouble. This is not a podcast moment. So it's going to be number 10. Number 9, Bumbets, specifically Le'Veon Bell versus Josh Gordon. I'm really sad about this one because I wanted Josh Gordon to somehow have some career renaissance again. And it ended up costing me $5. So not a great moment, but a podcast moment nonetheless. Number 8, I've got my championship intro from last week. I didn't think it was that special, but it didn't cost me $5, so I've got it at number 8. Number 7, the heel turn episode, where we shit on Mike for a little while. It's really great to rag on my friends. I try not to do it as much as I used to, but I love Mike, and he's my friend, so that's why I've got it at number 7 and not higher. But I had a lot of fun doing it. It was great.
Listen, I had a lot of fun too. I put it on the list because I wanted to address something. While I'm not under the influence of caffeine, Mike, I want to tell you, I said a lot of messed up stuff on this podcast this year. Drank a lot of coffee before I got on this. So with a clear mind, I'd like to say, I knew you could take it. You were the strongest of us all. So that's why I heel turned on you first and hardest.
As number 6 here, I've got Silverwatch. And I know that this seems really low for Silverwatch because Silverwatch is the highest of art that this podcast has ever produced. But again, to me, not really a podcast moment because it was a production of the studio. Didn't really happen on the podcast, but I think that it's such high art that I've got it at number 6. Number 5, I've got the Seltzer Bet. I knew the outcome of this before I even proposed it to you. As soon as I thought about it, I'm like, Fitzy's going to win. I just want to know how far he's going to go. And so that payoff was totally awesome. It probably would have been higher if I somehow pulled off a victory, like an upset victory. But Seltzer Bet was awesome. Video part was awesome. Loved it. Great. Number 4, Adam 1 versus Adam 2.
Knew it. Yep.
This is definitely selfish because this was, number 1, the hardest thing that I had to edit for audio-wise. And number 2, the most fun that I had editing audio because it was a lot of creative process of coming up with ways to take Adam's words and mince them, or just in general, just make him say the same yes or no, like in a short amount of time to make it clearly obvious that it wasn't Adam. So I had a lot of fun doing that. I loved that. Number 3, I have Colin's charts. I think Colin's episode in general here was an absolute beautiful nightmare. We must have Zoomed for like 3 hours and I cut so much audio. There was so much audio that was left on the cutting room floor that may see the light of day someday.
I'm going to interject because I remember what I did once to write here. Colin's green screen.
Oh, Colin's green screen.
In general.
Yeah. So to give some background, before we started recording, Colin had his green screen up. He hit the green screen button and the green screen projected onto his face and his arms instead of the green screen.
You can see it in the thumbnail.
It was, we weren't recording, unfortunately. It was like one of the funniest things I've experienced in my 20s, in my entire 20s. It was amazing. It was so great. Number 2, I've got Taylor's Cinderella story. So I couldn't have asked for a better season for this kind of weird thing to happen in a fantasy football league, right? I'm making a podcast about fantasy football and I get a lob for an amazing storyline to wrap up the season. Like, everyone was into it. And it was so fun to watch because you just keep not believing in Taylor. And then he just keeps saying, fuck you. And it just makes it.
It started off as a sub story in like week 3. We were like, Taylor's 2-1. How is this possible? We've been talking about it all year. It's not just the playoff run. It's awesome. I love it.
My number one podcast moment of the year, the overtime bet saga. This one still makes me laugh when I think about it, even though it's not like a laugh out loud moment. I think it's because when we were recording, I just didn't expect it every time. Like every time Fitzy would be like, all right, let's do it double or nothing. Time for another one. And I'm just like so defeated. I'm like, okay, whatever. And just like, I don't know. It tickled me so much every time it was proposed to me. So number one podcast moment, overtime bet saga. Love it. Anyways, let's get back to business here. Let's start with the matchup of the matchup of all matchups. Let's start with the championship matchup where Fitzy is crowned the champion, beating Taylor 206-183. I'm not going to mince words. Fitzy, the floor is yours. Take your victory lap. Enjoy.
Yeah, I dropped a 200 burger to cement myself, along with Chris P, atop Mount Whitey Boys Play Games. I want to first talk about Taylor. So Taylor had this incredible Cinderella story run and then puts up the 5th highest point total ever in a championship matchup. It's a shame I pulled off the second most ever. His 183.7 points is, of course, the highest score we've ever seen from a loser in the finals, beating Cash's 172 back in 2018. And had Adam not put up 212 that same week, then Tyler would have been the first 2-time champ in this league.
Wow.
Speaking of multi-time champions, is Fitzy sneaky good at fantasy football? Now, I'm not here to gloat, Corby. I'm a data guy, and I let the data do the talking for me. I am now tied for the most championships, of course, but I also have been in the finals more times than anyone not named Tyler. And if you only look at the 12-team era, nobody has been to the finals 3 times except for me. Now, hey, that sounds a lot like gloating. Back to the data. A lot has been made of the 8-6 record that Taylor and I brought to the championship. Well, Corby, what would you make of Adam's lone championship? What about our commish? They both only won 8 games the year that they won the championship. I think that their gold trophies are just as valid as any other. Now, could a points against argument be made? Sure. I had the fewest points against, but it does take a little bit of good luck to win a chip. And I can't control how the fantasy gods line up my opponents. I never won when I scored less than 140, so I had no good luck wins. I just beat a couple of teams by 70 and lost to a couple by 20. I won't apologize for that. I had the 6th most points for, so you can't say I didn't deserve to make the playoffs. There was only one pair of teams sorted by points for that got flipped in and out, and that's Tyler losing out to Taylor's team. So 6th in points for, not great, but weeks 15 through 17, those count too, Corby.
Of course they do.
And the final week of the regular season was also kind of a playoff game for me, a play-in. So if you look at the final 4 games of the fantasy season, well, tell you what, let's look at it. If you will, please look at your screens, everybody. I have plotted the average points per week in the playoffs and final week of a regular season for all of our league's history. And you'll notice in 2021, it looks like everyone's pretty high. It's because I didn't bother looking at the losers bracket teams. So once you were eliminated and you were in the losers bracket, you were down here somewhere, but I didn't bother plotting you. For those of you like Colin who sit players, I went ahead and I interpolated whatever your average score was. I threw that in. If you didn't set your lineup on your bye week, like Eric, his first week, I threw in your average score for the week that week. So I was very generous. I gave people the higher of their average score or what they actually scored that week. Now, let me zoom out a little bit. Note the y-axis here. That's weird. Hold on. Let me zoom out a little bit more. That, Corby, was my final run this year. An historic team led by the number 1 and number 2 point scorers over this time frame, Joe Burrow and Devontae Adams. Want to know who RB3 was the final 4 weeks of the season? Devin Singletary.
Oh, my God.
Want to know who the RB1 on a per game basis was? Damian, 5 touchdown Harris. I have the RB1. Think about that for a second. I won't talk about Mark Andrews. Of course, he was the tight end one over that time frame. And hey, even Chicago's defense chipped in 21 points to put me over the hump. I know a lot of you are pretty curious. Sure, like that was a pretty good outlier. But who's this handsome little fella right here, the second most all time? Well, that was also me. The last time I won the championship.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So, Corby, I told you I did the math, looking at every team's points for, throwing in the generous points when they were on a bye. And now, Corby, your champion is the highest scoring team in the league for the entire season, if you count the playoffs. Corby, my friend, you were second. I only wish that we could have met in the final round. Is there a such thing as destiny? Is there a such thing as justice? All I know, Corby, is that this league wouldn't be the same without the people in it. So I'd like to close with a quote for all of them. Abraham Lincoln once said, "You cannot now believe that you will ever feel better. But this is not true. You are sure to be happy again. Knowing this, truly believing it, will make you less miserable now. So, to my league mates, let me tell you, you will feel this joy someday, unless you're Mike or Taylor, of course. But everyone else, enjoy my happiness like I will enjoy yours."
If it had to be somebody and it wasn't me and it wasn't Taylor, I'm glad it was my co-host. With that, let's move on to the next matchup here. We had the third place game, which was me versus Eric. I wiped Eric off the face of the earth. Fuck you, Eric. I win. I'm the third place. I'm the best third place team of all time. My favorite fantasy football team of all time. I deserve this. I am enshrined. I deserve this. That's all I have to say.
You know, you got the good kind of bronze this week for sure, Corby. No one can call you the bronze boy and have it be an insult. You're the bronze boy and you deserve a medal. Truly. First of all, it's got to feel good that both the championship teams had good enough weeks that, you know, you don't have any regret looking at the championship. Like if we both scored 120, you'd be fuming. And I understand. It's like that last week of the season, what might have been regret. But speaking of low scores, Corby, I looked at the score in this matchup and I honestly thought that Eric must not have set his lineup. Nope. Much like a flashy dome team that doesn't play defense, Eric's deal with the fantasy devil to, quote, beat every team in this league is a fable that will be told to future fantasy managers.
Yeah.
Devil took that one very literally. He beat everyone and lost out from there. Now, let's dip one last time into the alternative history losers bracket, where Mike wins a blowout 150-98 in the battle for DeBerry, and Chris P is your ultimate loser. He had the fewest points in the regular season, and he got flushed down the losers bracket toilet bowl.
I don't even know. I got nothing to say to that. That's Chris. I can just keep beating the drum. You had a shitty year. That's it. That's all I gotta say.
And you know, it's a sports cliche, but I gotta say, I think Mike really wanted this one more.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right. So Corby, pretty soon we're going to be getting into a very special segment, league-wide awards. But before we get there, we've got some accounting to do. Bets of the week of the year. Quick recap. Last week, we had Corby versus Fitzy for podcast glory. I won that one on the field.
We had Mike being the biggest loser. Fitzy said yes. He was wrong, and I was correct on that one.
And Corby doubled down on passing yards. Derek Carr versus Brady. Why can't I quit you, Derek Carr? He put up 255 to Brady's 410. Corby gets the win.
The GOAT, still the GOAT. So let's now recap the season-long bets that Fitzy and I made. And then after that, we can reconcile the bets that all of our guests made. So everyone knows who to pay and whatnot. So at the beginning of the season, we had more fantasy points. CeeDee Lamb versus Amari Cooper. I took CeeDee Lamb. Fitzy took Amari Cooper. CeeDee Lamb wins with 229 points versus Amari Cooper's 189 points.
Next, I made a bet that Brandy would outrank Corby in my adjusted rankings. And while I'm yet to finally, publish my finalized version here, looked it up. Brandy finished 8th to Corby's 3rd. So Corby takes the win there.
We also had a bet where we had Fab end of season. Who would have the most? Taylor versus Chris Cloud, where I took Taylor and Fitzy took Chris Cloud. Hindsight's 2020. Chris didn't spend any money. And we're going to get to that later.
Jalen Waddle versus Brian Edwards, touchdowns after week one. One of my favorite bets. Corby, you took Waddle, and surprisingly, you only won 4-3.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's so fun. I love that.
I don't know if that says more about Jalen Waddle not getting into the end zone or Brian Edwards somehow getting in 3 times. That was a lot of fun.
Right. And let's stick with the Dolphins for a minute. Let's stick with Philip Lindsay versus Rex Burkhead's season-long rushing yards that we made. I took Philip Lindsay while he was on the Texans, I'm pretty sure, and then he got released. Fitzy wins with a slow burn, 410 to 209 yards.
It was a slow burn because I think you probably were in the lead until Rex Burkhead, like, absolutely. What team did he torch? It was like, I don't know. He put up over 100 rushing yards like one of the last couple of weeks here. Rex, knew you could get it done. Thank you. Love you. Our next season-long bet, the famous bum bet to start the bum bets. 2021 total yards from scrimmage. Josh Gordon versus Le'Veon Bell. Corby's note here says Le'Veon Bell wins despite not being on a roster. I would say that I win because Le'Veon Bell was on 2 rosters.
Sure. Okay. That's fine. We also had more receptions rest of season. Cole Beasley and Emmanuel Sanders versus Brian Edwards and Hunter Renfrow from week 5 on. I took the Bills side. Fitzy took the Raiders side. Fitzy wins with a combined 81 versus my 79. Hunter Renfrow had 64. Brian Edwards had 17. Cole Beasley had 53 and Emmanuel Sanders had 26. Again, another way closer one than I thought it was going to be.
It was way closer than I thought it was. And we didn't even have the fun of tracking how close it was week by week. We just like tallied it up at the end and we were like, whoa, cool. Yeah, so that was a lot of fun. Less fun is our last season long bet.
The most fun.
Because I had to watch my guy kind of fade down the stretch. It was Tom Brady versus Derek Carr, total passing yards on the season. Corby took Tom. I took Derek Carr when he had a 15-yard lead or something like that. He ended up losing by over 300 yards. So congratulations, Corby. Congratulations, Tom. In addition to these season longs, in weekly bets, Fitzy, myself, won 27 to Corby's 23, and we had a single tie. So after tallying up all of the season long plus those bets, Corby, I win 31 to 27. And you owe me $20 after all of this. 20 is
money well spent.
It all comes out in the wash.
Okay. Just Venmo request me, please.
You got it.
I will pay you eventually. So now let's reconcile everybody else. Let's start from the back and move forward. Taylor, you made a bet with Fitzy that Boston Scott would outscore his projection. Fitzy said yes. Taylor said no. Fitzy, you won. You also said we also had a bet with Latavius Murray under 1 of 3 running backs on Taylor's team, which Fitzy also won. There was also another bet where the top 2 receivers plus tight ends scored. Fitzy also won that one. And there was another one, Jalen Hurts versus Trey Lance rushing yards. Fitzy won that one too. Taylor, yo, Fitzy, $20.
You know, like the championship is priceless, but $20 is worth $20. Yeah, I won't downplay how much this means to me.
$20, man.
That's buy-in. Like, that's great.
No doubt.
Next, Mike, loved having you on the pod. I'm going to recap this one because I remember all these. I bet that Taylor would win in week 16. You beat both Corby and myself, who said no. Next up, Rojo versus Dawson Knox straight up. I took Rojo and I won that one. Next, though, you said Jonathan Taylor would score under 19.5 points, and you beat Corby on that one. So in the end, you are owed $10 from Corby, and we're square.
Yep. Colin, you made a bet with Fitzy about Mike's season-long win totals. You took the under on 3.5. So Fitzy won that one for believing in Mike. You also made a bet with Chris P and Fitzy about Amon-Ra St. Brown being the highest scoring Lion on whatever week that was. And you won that one. You also made a bet with Corby, Fitzy, and Chris P on Miles Sanders total touches for 17.5. And you won that one too. So overall, Fitzy owes $5, Chris P owes $10, and I owe $5. So Colin, another $20.
Chris P, you did have one non-Colin bet in there. It was the Trevor Lawrence versus Zach Wilson fantasy points, where Fitzy and you both believed in Zach Wilson. Corby took Trevor Lawrence, so Corby owes you $5, and we've already factored in the Fitzy Corby bet up above.
Okay, everyone get your reading glasses out because this is a long one. Adam, here we go. Aaron Jones, total missed games over under 2.5. I took the under, you took the over, and I won. Brandy versus Tyler in their matchup from that week. Adam took Brandy, Fitzy took Tyler, and Fitzy won. We also had Ayuk versus Agnew. Fitzy took Ayuk, Adam took Agnew, Fitzy won that one. The worst bet of the year. Field goals, extra points missed, over under 2.5. Adam took the over, and I got fucking murdered. Colts versus Bills. Combined fantasy points, Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs, 54.5. Fitzy took the under, and Adam took the over, and Fitzy won that one. Fitzy had another bet with Adam, where Van Jefferson versus OBJ for total fantasy points. Adam wins by less than 1 point when he took OBJ. Another one. We had more fantasy points. More fantasy points. Fitzy has Mike. Adam has Taylor. Adam wins that one. Closest to the pin, total accepted penalties. Fitzy blew the water out of both of us. He blew us out of the water. Yeah. And in total, Fitzy is owed $10 and I'm owed nothing. For all that, Adam doesn't win any money.
It's about the chase. I'll tell you, if we wanted to get somebody on Cameo to read that for us, it would cost more than the $10 that is actually being exchanged like that.
Good God.
It was a lot of fun. Chris Colby, we've got some really good ones here. I'm going to save the best for last. We had Chris versus Corby making a Jamar Chase points bet over under 23.5. I didn't look it up. I forget what he actually scored, but I do remember that Corby won this one pretty handily.
Yeah.
We also had closest to the pin, Adrian Peterson, fab dollars between the three of us. Fitzy bet 15, Corby bet 18, Chris, you had 11, and he went to Chris P for $48. So Corby wins that one. He was closest by being only 30 short. Chris, you and I had a head-to-head closest to the pin for Jeremy McNichols. This was clearly the Derrick Henry hurt week. And I'm ashamed to say that I won this one when I offered 25 and you said 24. I actually offered 31 in fab, so I could have won this by myself. Chris, you offered 30, so you would have lost this bet just based on your own fab offer. And Eric won with $48. So Jeremy McNichols and AP both went for $48. Thank you, Eric, is all I have to say. And I think that, this is in the running for bet of the year. It's our bum bet for backup quarterbacks. It was a doozy. I took Gardner Minshew, who started a game and got positive points, 19.22 on the season. I was feeling really good. Now, Chris, this one's fun. I don't know if you've been paying attention. Tim Boyle had negative points until week 16. He takes the lead at 24.44. But Corby, who took Drew Lock, also had negative points until week 15, but he had a great week 16, or week 17, I should say, putting you up to 29.9. Corby, you won the bum bet of the year.
I love to win money off of Drew Lock's back. It's the only good that can come from that guy.
So, Chris, in the end, you owe Corby $15 and me $5. Thanks for playing.
And finally, let's close on our first guest, Brandy. You owe Fitzy $5 for betting that Josh Gordon would go for more than 5.5 fab. I'm pretty sure it was picked up as a free agent.
I forgot that we made this bet. Yeah. I'm glad I checked twice. Thanks for listening, Brandy.
And with that, the big book of bets is closed for the season. Let's move on to the GAMEYS. I guess we're calling them.
Yes.
So we thought it would be fun to get some superlatives and some awards for all of the teams. We did it in two separate structures. I think Fitzy has nominations, and I just kind of came up with what I could on the fly. I've got some double dipping for people because I thought some of these things were fun to mention. I'm going to start with the Wheelin' and Dealin' Award. which goes to the people who made the most trades. I've got that as Colin and Tyler trade for 4 trades this season.
My first award here, Corby, is going to be the Never Let You Go award for the player who you just couldn't give up on. The nominees are Trey Sermon, myself, Deshaun Watson, Taylor, and Ryan Fitzpatrick, Chris Patino. And the GAMEY goes to Chris Patino. Now, this is maybe a bit of a controversial one, but Ryan Fitzpatrick got injured, stopped playing, and Chris paid attention to fantasy. So he kept Sterling Shepard and Chris Carson off of the IR. It was a close one, but Chris, congratulations.
I'm going to piggyback off of this award because I have one very similar. This one is the I Can't Quit You award. The member who started a player who, even though it didn't really work out, started him for a very long time. This one goes to Tyler for starting Austin Hooper for 9 weeks. Congratulations, Tyler.
Next, I'm presenting the Consistency Award. This is awarded annually to the manager who you can count on for consistency. Your nominees are Tyler, for holding the only team name that has not changed since last year and beyond. Chris Patino, for not changing his team name after the season started and performing only 20 moves this season compared to Adam's 70. And Chris Cloud, for not changing his team name after the season started and performing only 8 moves this season. And the GAMEY goes to Chris Cloud. Couldn't have been anybody else. The fab stayed consistently at 100 all year. Congratulations, Chris.
I also have a consistency award that I'm going to award to Brandy because Brandy never scored less than 100 points this entire year. So congratulations on never totally busting. I've also got another award for Brandy, the Someone Too Deep for This League award. This was someone that was started with, that was the lowest percent owned that I could possibly find. And that goes to 4% owned DeAndre Carter, who started him a couple times and he did all right. So I got shoot your shot, I guess.
Next, I'm presenting the Football Award for being a good sport. And your nominees are Adam, for trying right up until he was mathematically eliminated. Tyler, for not deleting the league immediately when he was eliminated after having a 99.3% chance of making the playoffs.
Wow.
And Taylor, who put up with a toxic mix of bullying and worship on his ascent into and through the playoffs. And the GAMEY goes to Tyler. Thank you for not deleting the league.
Thanks, Tyler. My next award is the Battery Award. This is the award for the team with the biggest diversity with their lowest scoring week and their highest scoring week. Like a positive and a negative. So this goes to Mike. Mike, week 4, you scored 209 points. In week 9, you scored 70 points. So congratulations on having that positive and negative energy.
Next, I am presenting the Football Award for being a good sport, but specifically with respect to the podcast. And your nominees are Taylor, who we mocked, deserving or not, for his transaction choices. Chris Colby, for always being there in the mailbag. And Mike Baconowitz, for putting up with a very bipolar host and Corby. And the GAMEY goes to Mike Baconowitz. Like I said, I knew you could. I only dished it out because I knew you could take it, my friend. Congratulations.
My next award is the Cutting It Close award, going to the manager who had the lowest margin of victory on the average for each season. And that award goes to Taylor for only beating his competition by 17.19 points per game.
Next, I'm happy to announce the first annual D. Boo Samuel Award given to the biggest ghost of the year. And your nominees are Chris Patino, for once again not changing his team name or photo from Fem Shep and the Cheesehead combo all year. What a mystery. Chris Cloud, for not spending a single fab dollar all year. And Eric Sinkowitz, who I have not seen or spoken to since May of 2021. And the GAMEY goes to Eric. Eric, really, I miss you, man. So it had to go to you. Not a ghost like in a like spooky or I miss you. Let's hang out.
My next award here is the Big Spender Award. It was the person who spent the most fab on one person. And this goes to Adam, who spent $55 on Geno Smith. Congratulations, Adam.
It's
Big
over.
Spender.
Game over. Oh man, I got to piggyback off of that one. I'm going off script, core, because this one is the award for the transaction involving fab that we'll look back on next year and wonder, who was that? And your nominees are Eric for spending $5 on Marcus Johnson, wide receiver, Tennessee. Myself for spending $17 on Eno Benjamin, running back, dude. Arizona.
When I was looking at these stats, I saw that. I was fucking dying when I saw that one.
And Brandy for spending $4 on Brevin Jordan, tight end, Houston. And the gamey goes to Brandy. Yeah. Now, I do think my pickup was worse, but
definitely.
I don't think I had heard of Brevin Jordan before pulling this list together. So congratulations.
The only reason I knew Brevin Jordan was the person was because I had to pick him up in the 2 tight end league. So
okay.
Love Brevin Jordan. Next year he's going to be a beast. Let's go, Brevin. My next award goes to the recipient of the last award. This is the Who's That Guy award. This is my favorite pickup of the year from a dude I'd never heard of. Adam, congratulations for picking up Jamal Agnew. It was a fun couple weeks. I had never heard of him. I still don't know how old he is, and I don't know if he's a rookie or whatever. Congratulations to you.
My next award is a very prestigious one. It is the 13 Points on Odd Weeks award, awarded annually to the fantasy manager with the best statistical anomaly. And your nominees are Colin for extending his lead over Fitzy to 12-1 lifetime. Adam for losing to 5 teams who put up over 180 points. And Taylor Crum for his Lifetime Achievement Award in never having achieved the rank of silver. And the gamey goes to Taylor, who currently sits at 582 Yahoo points.
Next up here, this has already been beaten to death, but I'm going to give the Frugal Friend Award to the person who had the most fab. Chris Cloud, congratulations. You deserve it, my friend.
Next up, I've got the Mike Bekonowitz Award, awarded each year to the unluckiest fantasy manager. And your nominees are Adam for his well-documented journey to the most points against, Tyler for putting up the 3rd most points en route to a 7-7 regular season, missing the playoffs. And of course, Brandy for having a better season than Adam, but only a couple points less. And the gamey goes to Adam. It couldn't have been anybody else.
Who else?
Congratulations on winning the Mike Bekonowitz Award, Adam.
Coming up next, I've got the Defense Almost Wins Championships Award. This is for the person who lucked into having the highest scoring defense. Eric, you had the Cowboys. Even though they not that good, they scored so many points. Definitely the number one. Congratulations.
We are getting to, I would consider the Best Actor, Best Actress award here. It's the big stuff coming up here. Second to last award, am I right, Corby?
So I've got the Balls of Steel award. This goes out to the league member who had a player go off on their bench and then ship him off. This one goes to my friend Chris P for having Dawson Knox on your bench who scored 20 points and you weren't afraid and you still shipped him off. And he ended up getting hurt. Too bad the guys that you got also ended up getting hurt.
Oh, boy. This next award, as I alluded to, is a highly prestigious one. This is the Gage Against the Raheem Award for excellence in puns. Your nominees are Colin, coming out of the gate strong with Sutton to Hawk About. Brandy for closing out strong with America's Next Top Waddle. And Adam for the short and sweet Big Slit. And the gamey goes to Colin, congratulations, Colin.
Yeah.
I could have awarded it to you for maybe one of 6 different puns. It really was nobody other than Colin.
Guess who's about to get another one? This is the Call Me By Your Name award for best team name. It goes to Colin, and it's Mount Rushmore. It's one of the best team names I've ever heard in my entire fantasy life. So congratulations.
Oh man, I'm very happy for you, Colin. And get a drum roll in here, please, for the final award that I'll be giving out. The Did You Guys Hear That Elon Musk Smoked Weed with Joe Rogan Podcast Guest of the Year award. And we've got a long list of nominees. Brandy, for blazing paths for future guests and answering some of the hardest hitting questions we've had all year. Colin, for bringing wigs and blazing paths for others. Chris Colby, for his unending positivity, multiple costumes, and general good energy.
Also for shotgunning a beer on the podcast.
Absolutely. Adam, for giving us some of the best segments and some of the best bets we've ever seen. Steve, for picking games he could not see with style and grace. Chris Patino, for braving the critics and facing the media firestorm. Mike, for stepping in as host when Corby was incapacitated and I just kept talking. And Taylor, for making us all believe. I wish I could pick each and every one of you, and really, you're all number one in my heart. I really, like, no post-bullshit. I really mean that. Thanks, everyone, for hanging out this year. But if pressed, I have to put it out there. I just had so much fun recording with Chris Danger Colby. He's a social media savant. He just knows how to make digital content engaging. And, I mean, who else came prepared enough with carrots while also being unrehearsed enough to say things like, and my favorite game is doinking golf balls into the lake. The GAMEY goes to Chris.
Congratulations, Chris. The Golden Goose Award. Congratulations. I mean, I do technically have 2 more awards here. Well, actually, technically 1. So I technically have 1 more award here. Co-host of the year.
I had the same written down.
Oh, I have to. Okay. I wrote you, Fitzy. You were the co-host of the year for me.
I was going to say the nominees are Mike for co-hosting for a little bit one time. Fitzy for putting in a lot of effort, like too much effort.
Too much effort.
And Corby for being just the best, most engaging host. Cutest smile.
Best segues. That's the only thing I've got.
Best segues. And the GAMEY, of course, goes to Corby. Corby, congratulations.
Thank you very much. With that, let's hop into the mail coin purse because it's very small today. We had a comment from Taylor who said, I made a mistake. T-Bird loves Ed Dixon. Yes, I totally remembered. As soon as I said Ed Dixon's name, you're totally right. Chris Colby also chimed in and said, you guys are the best. Thanks for giving me hours of entertainment. Can't wait to be back on the pod. Boy, do I have some bad news for you. Before we sign off, I do want to plug and give shouts out to all of our guests, Fitzy, for making this happen. That we somehow did this every week for so long, and I just had so much more fun than I thought that I would. And that's why we kept doing it. Again, all of our guests, I had an amazing time talking to all of you. Shouts out to the coin, the first coin, the Pokemon coin, the Sons of Aaron coin, and obviously for stepping in, the lid. Shouts out to the lid.
I should have put the lid on your top 10 podcast moments.
The lid was really good.
I'll echo everything you just said, Corby. This was a labor of love. Couldn't have picked a better season, a better co-host, a better everything. Like this was a really, really fun experience. With that said, I do not know what the future of the Why Do Boys Make podcast will hold. At this point, I think I can guarantee that it will not be a weekly podcast going forward. You will not see us, obviously, during the the off season, and I don't anticipate making many, if any, next season. It's something to be discussed. coming into this episode, I felt great. Coming into the last couple, I felt great. But it burns you out. So,
like weeks 8 through 12, I was done. I was so done. But like you said, I've got a lot of energy right now, so I'm ready to make 15 more of these. Yeah, like you said, I'm not going to promise that we're going to make any more, but I'm not going to say that we're not going to.
right.
The door is open.
I can say I understand fully why Colin decided not to make a video every week or every other week.
No doubt about it.
Understandable, especially when you look back at Colin's last episode. I think it has like 9 views, and I watched it twice.
Yeah,
like,
I definitely watched it twice.
Yeah, so like, yeah, as the season goes on, I get it. So we'll see what happens next year. Is all I have to say.
And with that, let's ride off into the sunset. Half of us a champion, the other half third place. Where I should be number 1, but that's okay. That's all right. Don't worry about it. I deserve it, but that's all right. So if you want to go on YouTube and do the whole spiel, whatever, go ahead. We're not posting anything for a while, so don't bother. As always, as I am, as I was, and as I will be, as I was born, and as I remain, and as I will be in the ground, my name is Corby.
And I'm your champion who deserved it because I had the most points on the whole year, Fitzy.
And gamers, game on.
Fitzy.
I'm asking if you'd like to have business with the Church of the Third Revelation in developing this
League's lore, crowning me the champion.
I'd be happy to work with you.
Yes, of course, that's wonderful.
But there is one condition for this work.
All right.
I'd like you to tell me that you are a false prophet. I'd like you to tell me that you are and have been a false prophet. And that
Luck
is a superstition.
But that's a lie. It's a lie. I cannot say it. When can we begin to
play.
Very soon.
How long will it take to
Finish the game.
It shouldn't take long.
I would like
For you to delete Silverwatch from the internet. And grant me the rank of silver.
That's only fair.
I am a false prophet, and
Luck
it is a superstition. If that's what you believe, then I will say it.
Say it like you mean it.
Daniel.
Say it like it's your sermon. Don't smile.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a
Why don't you
superstition.
stand up? Put your glass down.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a super.
Taylor.
Stop. Just imagine this is your church here, and
The whole league is here.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a superstition.
say it again.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a superstition.
Can't hear you at the back.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a superstition.
Say it again.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a superstition.
Say it again.
I am a false prophet.
Luck
It is a superstition.
I'm gonna score 200 points on you.
If you have a...
Destiny.
And I have...
Destiny.
And I have a straw. There it is. That's a straw, you see. Watching. And my straw reaches across the room and starts to drink your...
Destiny.
I drink your...
Destiny.
I drink it up!
Don't bully me!
Fitzy.
Did you think your song and dance and your superstition would help you?
Taylor.
I am the third revelation. I am who the Lord has chosen. Because I'm smarter than you. I'm older.
I'm your old friend, Daniel!
I'm not a false prophet.
Help me, please!
Sniveling boy. I am the third revelation. I am the third revelation. I told you I would eat you.
We're family!
I told you I would eat you
We're
up.
brothers! We're brothers! Daniel, please forgive me. I beg you. I'm trusting you. I beg you.
I'm finished.